What is up, everybody, and welcome back to Touchdown and Ties, the father-daughter sports podcast discussing football and everything else in between. I'm your co-host, Brianna, the daughter of this duo.
What up, everybody? And I'm Keith, her dad, the other co-host.
In today's episode, we're going to be wrapping up Week 6 in college football, where we saw some crazy games, including a lot of upsets. But before we do, if you are not already, please go ahead and follow us wherever you listen to podcasts. That way you can get updated whenever we upload an episode, and it also helps us out as well. All right, let's go ahead and get into it.
All right, let's do it.
Perfect. All right. So, like I said, we saw a lot of upsets. We saw some much needed wins for certain coaches. So pretty much all of that was in the SEC. We had a couple in the Big Ten, but let's start with the SEC and a much needed win with Vanderbilt in Alabama. Bama was able to win their game 30-14 against Vanderbilt after they went and lost last year as a 3-touchdown favorite. What do you think?
Back-to-back wins for Kalen DeBoer against top 10 teams, top 20 teams, whatever Vanderbilt was. And back-to-back ranked teams, if nothing else. Coming into this game, everybody was, had the whispers about Kalen DeBoer. He could beat the ranked teams, all the good teams that people thought maybe he would struggle with, but it was the unranked teams and the lesser teams in the SEC that he had problems with. Well, he put that to rest. I mean, it was an impressive victory for Alabama against Vanderbilt. And Vanderbilt, give Vanderbilt credit. Vanderbilt is a good team. They're not, the team of 10 years ago or 5 years ago when everybody just, looked at them as being a doormat. Vanderbilt has a legitimate program. So for Alabama to go in there and be able to take care of business against Vanderbilt was huge, especially after, they lost last year. Like you said, they were a 3-touchdown favorite, and Vanderbilt got the win against Alabama last year. So this was a big win for Kalen DeBoer.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy looking at the headlines and the stats coming into this game when you see that, for one, Vandy being a ranked team. They had won more games than Alabama. They were undefeated. They were 5-0. So Bama handed them their first loss of this season. Vandy had won by at least 20 points against their opponent. So this was probably the hardest Vandy team that Alabama was going to face. They weren't the Vandy of previous years. And I don't know, it was just crazy to think that we're worried about Vandy as Alabama, but last year they caught them by surprise, which rightfully so. If you beat a team 40 years in a row, I'm not thinking that we're going to lose to them, but I guess that is a loser's mentality because every game on your schedule counts. And they showed up and they showed out against them last year. And it was a big deal on both sides. A big deal is in a bad way for Alabama and a big deal in a good way for Vandy. So I think Bama definitely took them seriously this year. They were not taking them seriously last year, and they weren't able to catch them by surprise whether they did in the past. So yeah.
Yeah, I think, after they lost to Vanderbilt last year, coming into this game, Alabama definitely had their attention.
Yeah.
Knowing that, Vanderbilt is a good team. I mean, they're a legitimate SEC team who came in again, like I said, they beat them last year. So, that helped, I guess, with the focus going into the game. And it was a 30-14 game, but it was really a little closer than that. It didn't feel like it was a blowout. I mean, the game was pretty tight for most of the way. And then Alabama just I think they got like a late touchdown.
Yeah, they did.
To make the final score seem like it was like a blowout, but it was a tough game.
It wasn't at all. Yeah.
It definitely
wasn't. It wasn't an easy win at all for Alabama because Vandy got on the board first from an interception that Ty Simpson threw on Alabama's first possession. And then once Vandy got the ball back, he had that 65-yard touchdown. And I'm like, okay.
Here we go. Yeah.
I was like, what are you guys doing?
Get together.
We can't let the game get away from you too much. So, and like you said, it was pretty close from pretty much from the beginning until the fourth quarter. And then Bama, they pulled away with that, the field goal and things like that. But Vandy was scoreless in the second half. But like you said, it was not a blowout by any means. It was not a 30-14 game by any means.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was lots of conversation, like you said, going into this game regarding, the issues that the donors had and the fans had with, the new culture shift and players looking uninspired and lazy because they're not finishing plays and things like that. So Kalen DeBoer could not afford to lose this game 2 years in a row. He can't afford to really lose any games the rest of the year.
I mean, it's tough. I mean, we talked about this before on podcasts, how tough it's going to be for him, following in the footsteps of Nick Saban, who barely lost any games.
Right.
So people are not going to be as patient with him as they
Mhm.
should be. I mean, the guy's only coached, what, 18, 19 games at Alabama so far. His record is pretty
Yeah.
decent, but, you
Mhm.
didn't make a 12-team playoff last year with 3 losses.
Right.
Fans get spoiled. The donors
Yeah.
get spoiled. The boosters get spoiled. They just expect you to keep winning. And when
Right.
that doesn't happen, and then sometimes even winning is not good enough because they want you to look
They want you
impressive
to
in
blow them
doing
out.
so. They want you to blow everybody
Yeah.
out. And that's just not what's going on in college football right now, at least
Yeah.
with most teams.
Oh,
So big
yeah.
win for him
Yeah.
though.
Yeah. They
You
still
know,
have they still have some tough games ahead. They have Tennessee, LSU, OU, and of course their rivalry with Auburn. They have some
right,
other teams in between there as well. But as we've seen and as you just said, a lot of teams aren't blowing out a lot of teams unless you're Ohio State, but a lot
right.
of teams are not blowing people out, the way they used to, especially in the new age of like NIL and the transfer portal. I mean,
Yeah,
that's David Pavia. That's like the prime example of what the transfer
right,
portal and NIL can do for a team and for a school. You can get these
right.
guys that can change your program around.
Right. Yeah. So it's a new landscape in college football. I think that's why some of the coaches, not just college football, but college sports in general. And I think
Mhm.
that's why you see some of the guys getting out the game, like a Nick Saban, like a
Yeah,
Jay Wright at Villanova. These guys
yeah.
are retiring because they don't want to deal with the
Deal
uh the
with
new
it.
landscape of, NIL and players being paid and that sort of thing. So you can't
Right.
stockpile. Think about it like this. At one time, Alabama had Jalen Hurts, Tua,
Mhm.
and Mac Jones was on the team all
Same
at the same
at the
time.
same time.
you know,
Oh, yeah,
all those guys,
I didn't even put 2 and 2 together. That was the QB room at once.
yeah, all at one
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
And all those guys are in the NFL now. So I don't think you're
yeah,
gonna see, that type of thing happening in college football too much anymore. We'll see.
yeah.
We'll see.
I saw this video. It resurfaced again on my For You page on TikTok, and I forget who was doing the interview with Nick Saban, but they had asked him who were some
Mhm.
of your favorite guys to coach, and he was just listing off just names of people. I was like, this man
Yeah.
has casually coached the
Yeah.
entire NFL.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Got the who's who. Yeah.
so many of these guys came from Alabama and they came from Nick Saban's.
Yeah.
Like I said, anybody who was going to follow up after Nick Saban was gonna get it in a
Yeah.
bad way. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, unless you just came in and just, continue to dominate like he did, it doesn't matter what your
right.
record was. You were
Yeah,
gonna suffer by comparison to Nick Saban.
100%,
So,
100%.
hopefully Kellen DeBoer, people get off his back for a little while now and just let
Yeah,
the man coach.
right,
Just let him
yeah.
coach.
Good for him.
Yeah.
All right, now switching gears over to overrated Texas. Texas falls to Florida 29-21. Texas was number 9 coming into this game, and they lost to an unranked Florida. Without question, that ranking is going to fall. Texas was number 1 coming into this season, and I don't understand why, quite frankly. I never understood
Arch
it. They
Manning.
didn't win. How can one guy
Arch Manning. Yeah.
determine the ranking of a team? He hadn't done anything yet. I don't understand that. You literally had Ohio State who won the national championship, and they weren't even number 1 when they did that. And then you
Right.
had Texas who didn't do anything really in the postseason. Now all of a sudden they're number 1. Come on.
Well, I mean, when your last name is Manning and you play quarterback, that's how you get ranked number one coming into the season, even though you hadn't
That's
proven
crazy.
anything, But we're seeing now that maybe the stage for Arch Manning has been a little bit too big. I mean, I don't want to
Yeah.
say the kid he's not the guy. I mean,
Right.
but when you play 2 games against Power Four teams this year, Ohio State and
And Florida.
Florida, and you 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, you lose both
Mhm.
games. I mean, that's not what people were expecting from Arch Manning.
No.
I mean, it's just
No.
quite frankly, that's just not what they were expecting. I mean, and to his credit, he shied away from all the hype,
He did.
with that he was getting before the season started, but that didn't stop the hype train from rolling.
Mhm.
And people are like thinking that this guy was going to win the Heisman and Texas the best team in the country. And they have looked, anything but that. I mean, it's not all his
Right.
fault. I mean, the offensive line is not that great,
Mhm.
but he got back on the field last night. The score was 29-21. They down 8 points.
Mhm.
And I think he got hurt. No, his helmet came off on that one play. So he had
He
to
did.
come
I
out the
saw that. He had
game.
to come out the game. Yeah.
And then the backup quarterback comes in and right away completes a 26-yard pass, and then Arch Manning gets back in the game. He throws an incompletion and a sack and then gets sacked, and then the game is over.
Right.
So it's just, and it's going to be tough for them moving forward. I'm not going to say that their season is over and they don't
No.
have an opportunity to make the playoffs, but unless they win every game left on their schedule, they're not making the playoffs this year.
No, I mean, like you said, they have way too many tough games. They have obviously the big Red River rivalry, such a tongue twister, that's coming up this upcoming weekend. And then they have Ole Miss. Can't skip over that. That's a really good team.
Yeah, it's going to be a
Obviously,
tough game.
Vandy. They have Georgia, and then they end the year with Texas A&M. Which
Yeah.
is going to be a big game because I think now that they're back in the SEC, they can respark that rivalry a little bit.
Right.
I mean, I just think Arch Manning is truly just getting all of these chances because of his namesake, unfortunately. And I hate to say it, but I mean, he hasn't done anything. I mean, I get that he's a young quarterback. There's going to be some growing pains that he's going to have to go to. But honestly, like, who cares if you beat University of Texas, El Paso, and Sam Houston and whoever the other team that they played right before, San Jose State or whoever it was?
Right.
Who cares? Literally, who cares? You over here want to beef up in the end zone. Like, okay, you played Sam Houston. Like, do that against, like we said, these teams that matter. Do that against Ohio State. Do that against Florida. And I know people are going to be like, oh, you're a Michigan fan. We beat y'all. Whoop. Who cares? That's not the point that I'm trying to make right now, because I'll be just as critical as Michigan as well, which I'm going to be. You already said it earlier about being the victim of comparison. He is associated with two of the greatest quarterbacks of all time.
Absolutely.
Peyton Manning and Eli Manning. And that's why sometimes, too, I also kind of feel for these kids who come after these kind of people. Like, you have Bronny James, you have Shadur and Shiloh Sanders, now you have Arch Manning. You have these kids that come after these greats who are like generational talents. And then you expect, oh my God. You're messing up my groove. You're messing up my flow with your jokes. you have all these kids that come after these parents, and it's like you expect them to be just as good as them. Like, come on, LeBron James. You expect, come on, it's freaking LeBron, Peyton Manning, Eli Manning, Hall of Famers, Deion Sanders, like multi-sport athlete. Like, and you expect their kids or whoever they are just to be just as great as them. Because if I was the child or in some kind of relation to a professional athlete, I am not playing the sport that they played off of just that period, because everybody's going to be looking at me to do what they did in that sport. It's like, I'm probably not going to be them. Nobody can.
I've always agreed with that too. I mean, it works out sometimes. You have a few exceptions. Ken Griffey Jr. comes to mind. I mean, these are baseball guys. Ken Griffey Jr. comes to mind. His dad played Major League Baseball. Ken Griffey Jr. is one of the greatest baseball players ever. Probably better than his dad. Most definitely better than his dad. And that's saying something, because his dad was a good ball player. Yeah. Barry Bonds, his dad also played. His dad was a very good baseball player, but Barry Bonds is one of the greatest baseball players of all time. So, there are some exceptions, but I tend to agree with you. Like, if I have a parent that was good in baseball or good in football, I'm going to play basketball, or I'm going to play a different sport. Yeah, something. Because you're going to suffer by comparison, you know, and I think that's what's going on with Arch Manning right now. I mean, he came into the league, came into college to Texas with so much hype, so much expectations.
So much expectation on him.
Peyton Manning is one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play the game. Eli Manning is one of the greatest players to ever play the game. So it's going to be tough to live up to those expectations. And so far, he just has not been able to do it. As simple as that. He's just not been able to do it. And so there are people going to come for him, and that's just a lot of pressure for him to carry around. Just a lot of pressure. I feel for the guy. So, hopefully they can rebound. Hopefully they can get it going. They can fix their offensive line struggles or whatever. And they can, because they're not, they're not, I won't say they're being blown out by teams. I mean, they only lost the game by 8 points. The game against Ohio State, I think Ohio State only scored like 14 points.
Yeah, they lost by 7. So, I mean, together they've only lost by 15 points against these opponents. So, like I said, I'm not going to be too harsh. They stay in it. They just need to.
He's a kid. Yeah. I'm giving the benefit of the doubt. Hopefully it's not just him. There were like 80, 90 games on 80, 90 guys, I should say, on the college football team. I mean, so, I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. But unfortunately for him, time is running out. Because when you have that type of expectations and you're in a program like Texas, people are not going to be patient with you. They're not going to be patient. They're going to expect results, and they're not going to tolerate the losing. So he's going to have to get it together. Transition and say, speaking of teams that need to get it together, what do you think about Penn State? That game.
joke? That's the sentence. That's the headline. A joke. That's it. How do you lose to a team that was the last ranked in offense of all of FBS? They hadn't won a game, and you lost to them convincingly. I mean,
not only had they not won a game, they did not have a lead at
any point
this season. And yet they led Penn State at one time by 20 points.
20 points. And then on top of that, they had to switch offensive coordinators in a short week.
Yeah.
Like 4 days. They fired their coach. They got some interim, offensive coordinator. You're on the road at a school who had all of 5 fans in the stands. You're a top 5 team.
Top 7. They ranked number 7, I think.
Okay. They're a top 7 team, and it's just belt to the whole game. Like, they came back for a little bit, but did they ever catch the lead in that game?
No. I think the closest they ever got was the final score was the
final
5 points.
Score. Yes,
Penn State was favored by 24.5 points in this game. It's easily the biggest upset of the season so far.
I don't foresee anything else after that.
No,
I don't know. Like, how do you do that?
Stranger things have happened. Things, somebody could come up and beat a, Power 4 team from one of these sub-conferences or whatever. I mean, we've seen it happen. We saw it happen with Michigan a few years ago.
Right.
But, it still doesn't excuse the fact that you go into UCLA, still with a chance, right? You still have a chance to make up for the loss to Oregon the week before. You still have a chance to save your season. You would think UCLA would be a get-right game, if you will, for you. Again, I mean, you 24.5 point favorites, and at one point in the first half, you're down by 20 points. Right. So the fact that you're able to come back and make it a close game is irrelevant, because it should have never been that way.
It should have never been in that position.
It should have never been in that position to begin with. And, and this is just going to make the cries for James Franklin to go even louder.
Right.
Because now not only are you're losing to, ranked teams like Ohio State, like Oregon, like Michigan or whatever. Now you're losing to unranked teams.
Right.
So, I mean, this was the first, I think I saw a stat that said this was the first time that an 0-4 team beat a top 10 team since I was roaming the halls at Kettering High School 40 years ago.
Oh, Lord. Shout out Detroit. Okay.
So, you know what I'm saying? So that's how long it is. That's how bad of a loss this was for Penn State. The first time that this has happened in like 40 years that an 0-4 team was able to beat a team that was ranked in the top 10. That's bad.
Yeah. The last time that UCLA themselves beat a top 10 team was back in 2010 against Texas. But I mean, and especially too after the significance of, the UCLA QB, Nico. I mean, he had all of this craziness in the off season. I know he's came out and said that like he didn't leave Tennessee for the money, and he had always planned on coming back home to, LA. But, Tennessee and UCLA, they basically switched quarterbacks because he was sitting out of practices and not doing the spring game because he was different reports coming out for how much money he was demanding, basically somewhere between $4 to $8 million, which is insane. That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
And then now he transfers to UCLA. He still didn't get that much. I think he got like $1.5 million, but in the great state of California, state taxes are insane. So he's now getting even less than that. So, and then Tennessee is having a great season. And I'll take it. If somebody said, I'll give you $1.5 million in Cali right now, I'd be like, here's my bank number. Yeah. Okay. Here's all my information. Give me the money. But no, I mean, Tennessee is having a great season. And then you look at UCLA, and like I said, again, they have like 5 fans in the stands. They win in no games. They ranked last in offense of all the college football. So it's like, fired their coach. It's like, all right, who really won this trade? Not Nico, not UCLA. So you come into this game and like you kind of thinking it's a shoo-in. Again, maybe loser mentality, but I feel like everything gets to a point and you're not thinking that you're going to lose to UCLA, and you're not going to lose the way that you did either. And Penn State got demolished.
They did.
I don't care what the score was.
Either way you look at it, it was a bad loss. Yeah.
It was a very bad loss.
It was a bad loss. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I still don't think James Franklin is going anywhere because of his buyout, but the natives are definitely restless in Happy Valley. There's no happiness in Happy Valley.
I was about to say that. There's no happiness in Happy Valley.
None at all. None at all.
All right. Maybe a little bit of happiness for Michigan and Ann Arbor. Michigan beat Wisconsin 24-10. I'll say it right now. Very boring game. They got the win. Cool. But I was falling asleep for majority of that game. I was like, let's do something. I
Yeah.
mean, I guess I could say like after the first possession for each team, because both Michigan and Wisconsin opened up their possessions with 75-yard touchdowns. So that
Right.
was cool or whatever. But then after that, it was crickets the whole game till the fourth quarter,
Yeah. I
essentially.
think it was 10-7 at halftime, maybe was the score. And I remember texting you throughout the game going like, man, this is kind of boring, man. We need to get
Yeah.
going. But,
Yes.
they won
Yes.
the
Yes.
game. I mean, I guess you could say that they won the game. I had been asking for some other playmakers to step up besides
You
Justice
did.
Haynes.
Mhm.
We saw Donovan McCauley have a big game. We
Yes.
saw Andrew Marsh, have a big game. So I mean, if they can continue that, I think Bryce Underwood had his most passing yards of the season.
This of the season, he had his best game.
I
Yeah,
think he had 270
270
yard,
or yep,
70 yards, something
270.
like that. So
Mhm.
they're on the right path. They're on the right
Yeah.
trajectory. I mean, they doing what they need to do to win these games, but
Yeah.
my goodness, they're
But
just
like
not exciting games to watch.
but my point, I feel like, is that if Michigan's defense wasn't Michigan's defense,
Hmm.
Michigan would get blown out every week because their offense shows up too late. You can't expect to have a deep run in the playoffs if you even make the playoffs. You can't expect to beat Ohio State and you don't want to start scoring touchdowns into the fourth quarter. Because look at what Ohio State did last night to freaking Minnesota,
Right,
42-3.
22 to
You think,
three.
like, say
Yeah.
if Michigan does show up against Ohio State in the fourth quarter and they score 42 points, we only scored 24. We
Yeah.
cannot do that. You need to keep it together. I mean, again, like I said, I spoke about their defense, but Ohio State got a good defense too. I
Right.
mean, we do this every week. We do this every week, but this is the game that matters the most on our schedule. So we're going to see what Ohio State is doing so we can compare it to what Michigan needs to do. And you can't be showing up in the fourth quarter. And like the other problem I have with Bryce Underwood is like, I feel like sometimes he's just too strong in his passing. Like he's overthrowing and putting strength behind balls that don't need it. You have your receiver, whoever, right there, and he's just throwing it over their head. Like, dude, they right there. What are you doing all that for?
I mean, Bryce Underwood is a good passer, but he doesn't know how to throw the ball yet. I mean, because
Yeah.
I mentioned this early in the season, every pass is 100 miles per hour.
Yes, it's
Even
so
if the guy's
aggressive.
only,
Like,
I mean, even if the guy's only, 10 yards down the field, I mean, he's throwing the ball at 100 miles per hour every single time. And I get, you can't lob the passes or whatever, but he's going to have to get better at, being a better thrower of the
yeah,
football, because right now, he just everything is a fastball.
every
Everything
every everyone.
he's gonna have to learn how to throw some off speed passes, if you will,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
sometimes those passes are just coming too hard for the distance that they need to travel. But you're talking about the defense. Michigan only won and the defense. If they didn't have the defense that they had, they would probably lose some of these games. But that's why it's called complementary football. You
Hmm.
need all three phases to contribute to win these games. And right now,
Yeah,
Michigan's defense is definitely the strong side of the team, if you
yeah.
will.
I have no beef with them.
They're they're definitely keeping Michigan in the games, and that's what you want.
Yeah,
You playing good defense and giving your offense a chance to catch up. I mean, Bryce Underwood is in his played his fifth game, sixth game, so I'm still willing to give him time because
for
he's still a
sure.
freshman, maybe not a true freshman anymore, but he's still a freshman.
Yeah,
But right now, the defense is doing what they need to do to help the team
yeah.
win. Michigan is on offense; they're playing well enough to get the job
Hmm.
done. Justice Hayes is really look outstanding.
His impact
You
has
know,
been immediately felt with
and
Michigan. Yep,
with all those top and Heisman Trophy candidates struggling,
hmm,
those guys, the Arch Mannings of the world who came into the season as being like Heisman Trophy favorites. I don't understand why at this
yeah.
point Justice Hayes is not getting a little bit more recognition for
Recognition,
being,
yeah.
Heisman Trophy worthy because of
Hmm.
the season that he's had. I mean, you had a stat. You share
Yeah,
that stat with me again?
yeah. In his first 5 games at Michigan, he's had over 100 yards and 1 touchdown in each of those games.
In each of
And
those
then,
games.
when he was at
Long
Alabama,
touchdown runs
long
too.
touchdowns,
Yeah.
long
Yeah.
touchdowns. And then when he was at Alabama, he had 616 total yards during his time at Alabama because he was split possessions. But then during his
Right.
first 5 games at Michigan, he's had 654. So
See,
he is making some noise in Ann Arbor for sure. And especially like
definitely.
after losing a guy now 2 years removed with Blake Corum,
Yeah.
it's nice to have another running back because that's a hard guy to replace. So I mean, I'm not
Right.
even comparing the two because he's his own man. He's doing his own thing, and he is living up to expectations being a Bama guy. So he's really good. I'm glad that we have him on the team.
Definitely. Justice Hayes has definitely been the bright spot on the offensive side for Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
And the other
And
guys are
then
coming around, the offensive line is coming around.
Yeah, and then you mentioned Donovan McCulley. I'm happy that,
Mm-hmm.
we kind of opened the field up for him as well. Like you said, he had 112 yards, 1 touchdown. So I want to see some more from him this season as well. Him and Bryce need to work together again.
Yeah.
Work on throwing the ball to him. We don't need all that extra stuff. Sometimes if he right there, just, boop, you gotta chuck it across the field, so like you said, complimentary football. Everybody work together.
And I can't remember the last time a Michigan receiver had over 100 yards in a game.
Yeah,
It's been a while. I mean, I know it wasn't last year. I mean, I could be wrong, but I mean, just off the top of my head, just the way the offense struggled last year passing the ball, I don't remember them having a 100-yard receiver last year. So they just need to keep it going. I mean, they need to keep it going. The offensive coordinator, I think his name is Chip Lindsey, need to keep opening it up a little bit. Let the guy pass the ball a little bit more. Spread the ball around. Take some of the pressure off of the run game, so they don't feel like they have to be solely responsible for all the big plays that Michigan make on the offensive side of the ball.
Right.
Open it up a little bit. Let him throw the ball. Let these guys get open. Andrew Marsh, number 4, I was impressed with him. He looked pretty good on 3 to 4 catches that he had yesterday. I think he only had like maybe 5 catches for the whole season, but he looked pretty good yesterday. So he showed that he can be a playmaker on that offense, and that's what Michigan needs.
That's good. All right.
They have USC next week though, so they they need to keep it going because USC can score.
Yeah, because I was going to ask you about that with I guess the caliber of USC. I haven't watched too many games. I think the only game I watched of them this year was when they played Michigan State, and I feel like that's not a really good indicator. I don't know.
Right.
No
disrespect to Michigan State.
I feel like that came out wrong. I'm not trying to say it like that, but I mean, because again, Michigan State has beat Michigan in really good years. So I'm not dismissing that, but I guess just how they're going to fare. I mean, it's a 3-hour time change. They're coming to the West Coast. It's a road game. Again, I'm not familiar with USC's style of offense. I mean, not a lot of teams play offense like Michigan anyway. So I kind of just expect Michigan to kind of have to, I don't want to say change their game, but kind of tweak some things in order to keep up with these offenses that, they don't just stay on the ground though.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good game. Michigan's defense should hold up pretty well against USC's offense, but USC's offense is going to score. So that means Michigan's offense is going to have to score unless, the defense can create some turnovers and score off of those, or the special teams contribute a touchdown or two. But Michigan's offense is going to have to score, and I think that'd be okay. I think that'd be okay. I think they'll win the game.
Yeah. Did you watch any other games yesterday besides the ones we spoke about, or not really?
I watched the Tigers. The Tigers beat Seattle, so I saw that. That was exciting.
Yeah.
That was it. I mean, baseball playoffs going on at the same time that, college football is going on. You had 4 baseball games on yesterday, and 2 of them were like blowouts. But that was it. I didn't watch, I didn't watch any more games than that. I just watched, the Michigan and, like you said, the games that we talked about. And what about the Miami game? I did watch the Miami game.
I did finish watching the Miami game last night with against Florida State.
That game was kind of boring. I think it was like 28-3 at one time or something like that.
I forget what the final score was. I mean,
it was 28-22, but it wasn't really that close of a game.
No. I mean, I was watching 2 blowouts at the same time because Ohio State was blowing out Minnesota, and then you had Miami blowing out Florida State. Yeah. I mean, it was a good game. I think that Carson Beck looked really good. I know he got a lot of flack because of his lack of performance when he was at Georgia. So, and like you said, the score was a close game, but that was not a close game by any means. I mean, that Florida State QB, he threw so many interceptions, bro.
Castellanos.
And then, I mean, Miami's offense, they looked really good. They were really well put together. They had very minimal mistakes. That was a pretty solid game. So, I mean, Florida State was coming in. They started off the season well. They were ranked pretty high. I think that their ranking, unfortunately, they're hanging on at this point. They're already number 18.
I think they'll fall out of the top 25.
They'll probably fall out
after that. Yeah, they won't be ranked anymore after that game.
Yeah. Who's ranked number 2 right now?
Oregon, is it?
Maybe
Oregon. I think Oregon. Oregon was off yesterday, so I think it's Oregon ranked number 2.
Okay, because Miami is number 3. So maybe because Oregon is off, they won't move their ranking around. But I could see Ohio State and Miami just fighting for that 1 or 2 spot.
Yeah.
For the rest.
It's not. Yeah, I was gonna say it's not gonna be much of a fight. It's not gonna be much of a fight.
I mean, because arguably I feel like who does Miami play the rest of this year? I mean, both Miami and Ohio State don't really play anybody the rest of the year. I mean,
right.
Ohio State does play Michigan, but I mean,
Right.
you look at Miami, they have Louisville, Stanford, SMU, Syracuse, NC State, Virginia Tech, and Pitt.
Yeah.
Miami is not losing the rest of the year. I mean,
they should.
Again, crazier things have happened. Again, we just saw UCLA beat who should have won Penn State, but I don't see Miami losing the rest of the year. I mean, Ohio State, they have Illinois, Wisconsin, Penn State, Purdue, UCLA, Rutgers, and Michigan. So they probably have more of a have more of a competition left of the season than Miami does.
Right. But they're not going to lose any of those games. I mean, they play Illinois. Illinois is a ranked team. I think Illinois ranked number 11, number 10, or something like that.
No, Illinois?
Ohio State not losing to Illinois.
Yeah.
It's just
Illinois is 22 right now.
No. Are they really?
Yeah.
I didn't know they were ranked that low.
Yeah, they're 22.
Well, they're definitely not losing to Illinois. They're definitely not losing to Illinois.
No.
It's not going to happen.
They're not losing to them.
I mean, no disrespect to Illinois, but if you've watched this podcast at all, you understand how I think about, as a Michigan fan, how I think about Ohio State. You're not going to beat those guys, man.
Right.
You're not going to beat those guys.
I'm always hold out hope for November for us because I thought we were going to get ran through last year. And we were a worse team last year than we are this year. So if we had the capabilities of doing it last November, I'm going to keep hope alive for this November. So yeah.
Yep, but that's it, man. I mean,
that's all we got.
Yeah, that's all we got, for this week. I mean, it was always the weeks when you look at the schedule and think that it's not a whole lot of good games going on, that you have good games going on.
100%.
But, that's why I always say, there are no easy games. No easy games, man, because you never know.
You really never
know.
When
UCLA will have one of those days where they'll beat a Penn State. In college football, or Cleveland to beat Green Bay in the NFL. So you just never know.
Really never know.
You never know.
Yeah. But we have some on paper games next week. Obviously, the big game is going to be Texas OU. I don't know if John Mateer is going to be back by then, but
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah,
I think he's going to be out for a few more weeks.
Okay, and I'm going off the rankings right now. Number 2 Oregon versus number 8 Indiana. That's a good game.
That's going to be a good game. Good game.
Yeah. We have Florida and Texas A&M, Michigan SC, Georgia Auburn. I think Ohio State looks like they're on a bye week next week.
No, I think they had their bye week already. Yeah. They play Illinois, right? Do they play Illinois?
We literally just said that.
Yeah.
And then Bama plays Mizzou. So, we have some okay games. We'll see what happens. But it's Sunday, so, we got to make some things shake because I got to start watching my Sunday NFL games today.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and end the episode right here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. As always, if you're not following us, please go ahead and do that wherever you are listening to podcasts. That way you can get updated whenever we upload an episode, and it also helps us out as well. All right, we will see you guys on the next one.
Y'all stay here till we get back.